Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Wednesday, April the 11th, 2018. Good to have you all here for our first and only show of this week, the special Wednesday show. The late start here, ran a little late, got a little delayed, and of course, as is usually the case when you're late, everything that could go wrong goes wrong. I had updates that took about another extra hour to upload to download. So my computer was pretty much shot for about an hour. So that's why we would have only been about a half hour late, maybe. Now we end up an hour and a half late. So that's what happens when your computer acts up on you. But anyway, here we are on this Wednesday, a day after my birthday. That's why we did not have a show yesterday. So to those of you that sent birthday remarks and comments, thank you to you. All right, so let's get going because we got some stuff to do. As always, as we start the show, I might remind you all the ways which you can interact and contribute to the show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember, hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show, anything you tweet to us. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure that you like our page. All right, so we got a little bit to do tonight. Not as much as in sound. Wonder why that is. Well, it's registering that I have sound, so okay, so Mike has told me that there was no sound. So if anybody else noted that, please let me know, because everything's registering that I have sound, and I don't know what the deal is with that. But anyway, hopefully you heard everything I just said, because I'm not going to repeat it because we don't have the time. But yeah, the box office can get through this week and next week. It's golden. You got the summer, and hopefully everything goes according to plan, and you're off and running, and you kind of make up the difference for what happened in March. So, so it should be a solid week, and then we'll see what happens next week when we have the movies I Feel Pretty, Super Troopers 2, and Traffic.
Brian.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
You literally just came through with sound like a minute ago.
Well, it's funny how nobody else noted that, and again we've been on the air for like 20 minutes, and my sound register has been on the whole entire time, maximizing my sound. So,
I believe everybody is lying to you then, except for me. I didn't lie to you.
Okay. Whatever. I'm not repeating it, so we don't have the time. But
that's fine. You don't have to repeat it.
But again, though, if anybody did notice, please be honest. If there was sound issues at the beginning of the show, please let me know, just so I know that was the case. Because sometimes it's just like when on some shows we don't have, like, we're just fine. Everything seems fine. I get mail later saying it wasn't fine. So, and some people say it was. So it depends, I guess, sometimes. But yeah. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Again, last week ended up being a good week. A Quiet Place surprise, did very, very well. So did Blockers. What was I going to say? Ready Player One held well. So across the board, really a very good week for everybody involved. And then this weekend, again, sets up to be at least what the first weekend was, pretty solid. And we'll see what happens. April's off to a good start. So, Mike, do you have any box office thoughts as I never truly welcomed you in because you were trying to get me on the attention on the sound. So, Mike, you're in the spotlight. Any box office thoughts? Because I'm moving.
My pee, so no.
Okay. All right. So, now we're going to do a really brief TV highlights, because my TV experiences over the last few weeks have been very, very scattered, and that's been happening a lot. And that's what having a newborn and college basketball season and Easter and everything will do to you. Because I really only get the chance to watch really what I able to either watch live or what I just happen to have just a little bit of time for, and it happens to already be on. So, that's kind of, and you all know I'm a S.H.I.E.L.D. fanboy, so I always watch that. But I've gotten to Legends of Tomorrow, which I've been enjoying. I watched the finale. That was good. So I'll recommend that. S.H.I.E.L.D. I've been really loving. I like where they're going. Again, I said this a couple weeks ago. I feel like, even though I enjoyed the first half of the season for the most part, there were a couple episodes that I thought were just pointless. This show is at its best when it can be more spy-like and more... it can add. It has to be more suspenseful, more. The sci-fi thing is cool, and I thought what they did last year with the LMDs was kind of like a good marriage of the whole spy and sci-fi type deal. But when they get too sci-fi and they get too, like, I don't know, something about the first half of the season was, until they got moving with the plot, it felt like, okay, we're just trying to be overly science fiction for the sake of being science fiction-y. Let's try to become Doctor Who and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is really much what the first half of the season was. And it was fine. But, I feel like now they're more into their own element. And it's more like the S.H.I.E.L.D. that you expect it to be. So, they've had a good episode. They're moving the plot. It's nice to see Talbot back and involved. And, there was some good moments this week, so I'll give them credit there. I'll also say this, because I never thought I'd say this again, but the last 2 weeks of Walking Dead have been really, really good. Really good. I don't know if the new showrunner, Andrew King, has already made her influence known, but much more character development, lots more good scenes, more cast usage. Stories are moving. Things are falling into place. You don't want to scream at your TV because things are so stupid and unreasonable. So much bigger improvement with the show there. I feel like there's another show I want to mention, but that's really not my typical show that I watch. I'm trying to think what else. I've been watching a lot of Shameless. I've been trying to get into that because I know some people go like, "Well, that show's been on for 8 years," but I've just gotten into it. And I've just made my way through three seasons of that show, and I like that show. So I don't know. There's another show I wanted to mention, and I didn't put it in my notes because I literally just checked it out the other day. So yeah, if I think about it, I'll let you all know. But Mike, TV highlights.
Okay, well, I got slightly more than you, but I'll try to rush through them at a breakneck pace. All right, so I am almost all caught up with Legends of Tomorrow. I'm on the second to last episode. I've got one more episode to watch, and Legends of Tomorrow's had an amazing season. I know the finale is a bit heavy. We lose a couple characters here and there, but that's okay. That's okay. Legends of Tomorrow's done some really amazing work. It is the pinnacle of the Arrowverse this season, so I highly recommend. Yeah, so Legends of Tomorrow, absolutely. Flash, I think I'm all caught up on until the one this Monday. Maybe I'm 2 episodes back. It's been okay. I've been watching the new show on ABC called Deception. It's kind of like The Mentalist a little bit, only instead of a mentalist, it's a magician. So maybe it's... but I will say this is also a Greg Berlanti show. This is fantastic. It's a great show. It's very smart, well-paced. It really, really makes use of the magic. It's got amazing stars. It's got fantastic actors, I should say. I highly recommend Deception. I've seen the first 4 episodes. It's great. Okay. CBS. Let's go there real quick. Bull had its season finale. It had a really interesting finale. There was another case that Bull kind of took on. It didn't seem like Bull was going to win. He had to call it. He really had to play with the normal status quo. It was a good episode. It was a good episode. So I do recommend Bull. Also, there's a new show that debuted called Instinct, where a former CIA operative who is kind of settled into teaching is ended up partnered with an NYPD detective to take on these monstrous individuals. It's not like monstrous as in the descriptive term, not actually monsters. He teaches it's not about serial killers, but patterns and patterns among sociopathy, etc., etc. This one has Alan Cumming in it, and Alan Cumming is a fantastic actor, absolutely fantastic. Wish he would have done more Nightcrawler, but that's neither here nor there. Instinct's it's a good show. It's a smart show. It's not as flash and pizzazz as Deception, but it's a very, very solid show. So I do recommend Instinct. It's a very good show. And I'm going to move to Netflix real quick. I saw all 10 episodes of the cartoon Big Mouth. All 10 episodes of Big Mouth. That one has Nick Kroll and John Mulaney and Fred Armisen and Maya Randolph. Maya Rudolph. It is a very vulgar show about kids just starting puberty, and the dramatized thing too. You know what? I've heard some bad things about the show. I've seen some good things about the show. It's kind of like a spur of the moment thing. I had a little bit of time, so I watched Big Mouth. And you know what? It wasn't the worst show I've ever seen. It had a lot of really, really good moments. I'm trying to think of who plays Nick Kroll. Nick Kroll plays one of the main characters. And Murray the Hormone Monster. The Hormone Monster is depraved, but he kind of has the kid's best interest at heart. And he was easily the highlight of the show. But I will say Big Mouth was entertaining. I don't know. It was actually really decent. There was a season 2 announced. I guess it's a like it or you hate it show. Big Mouth is you either love it or you hate it, or you like it or you hate it. I don't know. But you know what? I saw it. It was worth watching. I saw it. It was okay. I guess I'd recommend it to see if you like it or not.
Okay.
So that's all I got for you today.
I have to check that out. I've actually somehow I've slipped and never heard of that, but I have to check that out. Okay. All right, so TV highlights, done. So I said the entertainment stuff we're going to move through quick. Now we're going to move to a couple sports things really quick. Again, baseball preview we'll do next week. Again, with the NBA stuff we're going to do tonight, no sense in doing everything in one night. Plus, again, it gives us 2 weeks of baseball season to kind of look over, especially with the Yankee-Red Sox rivalry heating up tonight. They had a brawl, so that's back. That's always good for baseball. So, we'll talk about all that next week. We'll go over the season, all that good stuff, make predictions, all that. Again, it's always better. As I said before, we used to do it before the season, but it's always better to do it, I think, in a couple weeks into the season because you get a chance to kind of see these teams. So it helps. In all sports, I think. It helps to do these previews a couple weeks into the season. So it gives you more to work with. So we'll do that next week. So really quickly, let me just briefly mention the Masters because we don't talk golf much on the show. We always talk about the big tournaments, and usually I only start hyping something if I think it's going to be good. I was one of the people, along with so many other people in the media, that was hyping up the Masters, and unfortunately, it ended up being a complete mess. The first day was all right. The second day, the weather wreaked havoc. Tiger and Phil both blew up. They were both out of it. Rory was still alive. Jordan Spieth was still alive. But even both of them, by the halfway point of Sunday, were out of it. That left you with Patrick Reed, who's the guy that a lot of people just don't like. He's not very likable at, winning the Masters. So pretty much people just were done with this. We're pretty much done with the Masters halfway through Sunday. So it sucks because this tournament had the potential to be the best Masters in years. But what are you going to do? Sometimes you hype something, sometimes you think something's going to be something, and it's not. And it wasn't. There wasn't much drama. There wasn't much going for this tournament. And so hopefully you turn the page, and hopefully the next big tournament will be interesting. And we'll have that kind of drama, and we'll have these big players at the top. And before somebody says, well, wait a minute, it's not just about Tiger and Phil and Rory and Jordan. No, it's not. There's a lot of good golfers now, a lot of good young golfers. You want them all to do what you want to be a competitive field. Here's the thing: it wasn't the field just wasn't very competitive this weekend. The scores might indicate that it was, but it never felt that way. It felt like this, it was too much back and forth, and it didn't. It just, I don't know, the drama and the compelling nature of it just wasn't there this weekend. It really wasn't, and you hope that, in the big tournaments it is, and it wasn't. So you turn the page, and hope for the next tournament to be better, the big tournaments to be better. Hopefully the U.S. Open's better. Hopefully the Open Championship's better. Hopefully the PGA's better. Hopefully they're better. If they're not, then it's going to be a long year for the PGA. Because with Tiger being back and healthy, they were hoping this would be a great year for them, and didn't start off that way here. At least for the Masters, it didn't. So I just want to briefly touch on that before we get to the NBA stuff, which we're going to do right now. So let's get into the NBA stuff here as the NBA playoffs will get away. And there's not a lot you can say about this because, a lot of the stuff is already settled. But there is some interesting thing, and we haven't talked a lot about the NBA pretty much since the All-Star break. And the reason behind that is because, we haven't had the time. And so some interesting things have happened. And one of the things that's happened is with the Spurs and what was going on with Kawhi Leonard. We're not going to talk about here tonight because there's a lot to be figured out there. But the Spurs went through a very, very tough situation. And they're already down at the 7th seed, tied with the Minnesota Timberwolves at the 8th. With Denver right there a game back. So that spot is still pretty much oh, no, they're all eliminated. So never mind. So Denver's not up for grabs. So the 8 spots have been decided. Minnesota has clinched. San Antonio has clinched. The Thunder have clinched. The Pelicans have clinched. The Blazers have clinched. The Jazz have. The Warriors and the Rockets. So the West is set, and so is the East. So all the spots have been clinched. All the spots have been clinched. So there's nothing up to be left aside. I'm sorry, I missed that completely. So they're all situated. So here's what you have to look at. And here's what's been interesting. So again, the Spurs went through a very tough slide. They're now down at the 7 seed. With the Timberwolves at the 8. So they're down there. The Thunder are at a 6, which is unreasonable given how they started. The Pelicans are at a 5. The Portland Trailblazers have shocked everybody. They're at a 4. Utah has been a surprise. They're at a 3. Given they got rid of Gordon Hayward, nobody expected this, and they're at a 3. So good for them. The Warriors are going to be the 2. And the Rockets are going to be the 1. Now, given how the Rockets have been all season, again, not surprising, but based on what we all thought the season would be at the beginning, how everything would be at the beginning of the season, that's a shock. Well, we'll talk more about that in a minute. As we talk about the matches, that's the playoff position. So Houston, Golden State, Utah, Portland, New Orleans, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Minnesota is your alignment in the West. In the East, we talked about Cleveland struggles a lot this season. They are the 4 right now. They're the 4. Toronto's the 1. The Celtics are the 2. The Sixers are the 3. Yes, the Sixers, who we've talked about over the years is completely just tanking their seasons, are the 3rd seed. Cleveland, of course, the 4. The Pacers, the 5. The Miami Heat are the 6. Bucks are the 7. And the Wizards are the 8. That's your alignment in the East. So let's talk about the East first. So, Toronto been a perennial contender the last couple of years. Big breakthrough year for them. Again, Cleveland's struggles have helped Toronto. They've helped Boston. They've helped Sixers. They've helped everybody in the East make this happen. So, Cleveland's helped, but you got to give Toronto credit. You got to give Boston credit. You got to give the Sixers credit for getting out in front and being above the Cavaliers. Now, will this make a difference? Probably not. Cavaliers, even though the team has completely changed during the course of the season, are still better than the Sixers. With the Celtics now losing Kyrie Irving for the rest of the season, they're better than the Celtics. The Celtics might not even get out of the first round without Kyrie Irving. They don't have Gordon Hayward either. The question you're going to have is, if this ends up being Cleveland and Toronto, do you think Cleveland in its current state can knock off Toronto? This is a Toronto team that's the same as last year. They got better last year, and they made it less further last year than they did the previous year. So really, the East comes down to this. How much do you buy into the Toronto Raptors? Now, I've seen some people think that, you look at these matches, Toronto's going to get Washington. That's a pretty tough matchup, but they should be able to get that. That might be a lengthy series. Might be one of the better early series. But I think Toronto's got enough to get by Washington. Milwaukee gets Boston. People think Milwaukee can beat Boston because of no Irving, and I think they could. That could be the upset. Not really upset about Irving, but still. Miami gets the Sixers. Some people think that Miami could be a tough draw for the Sixers with a resurgent Dwayne Wade. Could be. That's an interesting early season series, early postseason series. And you got the Pacers and the Cavs. Look, the Pacers are a much better team than they've been, but they have no chance against the Cavs. Okay? No chance. So what you're looking at here is you have a couple tough early series here, but the Cavs ain't losing in the first round. Okay? So that sets you up with, let's see here. The Cavs would get the Raptors in the second round. Now that's where this gets interesting, okay? Because assuming the Raptors get to that second round, you're going to get this series that really should be the Eastern Conference Finals in the second round. Does that impact any which way? These teams any which way? Does it hurt them or help them? I don't know. But it's interesting to get that kind of series so early in this postseason, basically because Cleveland struggled a lot. Again, though, to me, the East is this: how good is Toronto? Do you buy into Toronto? How good are they? And is this Cleveland team capable of handling the pressure that comes with going through this postseason? We know LeBron can. We know Kevin Love can. What about the rest of them? These are a lot of new guys here. We'll see what happens. That's really what the East comes down to. It really is. It's all about how good Toronto is and whether this Cleveland team is like the previous Cleveland teams and be able to handle what's to come. The West is a little bit different. Well, not I won't say different, but it's such an interesting situation with teams like Utah and Portland surprising at the level that they did. To get to the 3 and 4 seed is terrific. And San Antonio struggling because of the injuries, being at that 7. They present a very, very tough chore for the Golden State Warriors in the first round, who have issues with injuries. Curry's hurt. Thompson's been in and out. Draymond Green's been hurt. This postseason for Golden State is going to go through Kevin Durant. Because even if Curry comes back, how much do you buy into Steph Curry? Remember, we've seen how he can be when he's not 100%. They lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers in many ways because he wasn't 100%. Golden State's injuries are going to be a major storyline in this postseason, and Kevin Durant and his performance is the key for Golden State. If Kevin Durant doesn't take this team on his back and put up a hurricane effort, I don't think Golden State's winning the NBA championship. I really don't. I really don't. Now, if not them, who? Because I don't buy the Rockets either. I know what their record is, but we've seen how many times we've seen the Rockets have a terrific regular season, including last year, go into the playoffs and lay a huge egg. James Harden disappears the bigger the situation. James Harden and the Houston Rockets, and Chris Paul too. He's not always good in the postseason here. This team's going to have to prove themselves, and not just in the first round, but in every round. This to me is a huge for Chris Paul's legacy and for James Harden's legacy. This postseason is huge. They need to get to at least the Western Conference Finals and put up a good showing. If they don't, then nobody's ever going to put any buy into them again. And I think it's going to break this team. I think it's going to break that franchise. It's going to break this team, and it's going to break both their psyches because they've had so many clunkers, both Harden and Paul, that if they have another one, given the position that they're in, think about where the Rockets are. Not only are they the 1 seed, but Golden State has all these injury problems. San Antonio has all these injury problems. The Thunder have had issues. The Pelicans have had injury issues. Utah Jazz and Portland Trail Blazers have surprised, but you don't buy into them too much. Minnesota's there. You don't buy into them too much. This is set up perfectly for the Houston Rockets right now. Set up perfectly. Golden State could get knocked out by San Antonio in the first round. This is set up perfectly for the Houston Rockets. If they can't get to the Western Conference Finals this year, then that team's never going to amount to anything. And I really don't think they're going to amount to much anyway. They're going to have to prove me wrong. You look at these matchups, Houston will get Minnesota in the first round. They should have enough to get past that, although Minnesota, I think, will give them some good competition. San Antonio Golden State is a huge first-round series, one of the best ones we've ever had. Even with their injury-depleted states, should be good. Utah, Oklahoma City should be interesting. I favor Oklahoma City because they're playing much better basketball late. And you got Portland and New Orleans, which would be a very good series. So some good series here. Actually, really across the board, some good series here opening in the first round, which we're not usually used to. Sometimes these series are very bad. So you got some compelling storylines on both sides here. And a lot of it ties into injury. And people that aren't going to play at all. People that may or may not play. People that will play, but they're not 100%. So much of this playoffs is because it's going to be related to injury and players coming back from it. So that it should be interesting to see how this all plays out. If you were to ask me right now what I think is going to happen, I think your Eastern Conference Finals is going to be Cleveland. I actually think it's going to be. I actually think it's going to be the Cavs and the Sixers. I think the Cavs will win that easily. I think the Cavs will go to the NBA Finals, even in their current state. And on the Western side of things, I think Golden State will get out of the first round because I think Curry will play. I think even Curry at like 50% is going to get them out. You're going to get I think you'll still get Golden State and Houston in the Western Conference Finals. I have no faith in Houston, but I just think I don't see anybody else being able to beat them. It's hard for me to pick against Golden State because if it's Houston, it really is. I will pick against them because I just don't believe in Houston. But the problem is I don't see anybody else. I don't think Golden State's good enough as they are with the injury situation. So I'm going to pick Golden State to meet the Cavaliers in the finals only because it's hard for me to pick against them, and it's hard for me to imagine Houston of all teams beating them. I can't say anybody else. I think the Thunder are like the dark horse, though. If they play as well as they've been playing, they could sneak in. But I don't put a lot of faith in them here. So I guess I'll just go with the old. I know it's boring and it's predictable. I'll go Golden State and Cleveland, despite the injuries. I'll say Golden State finds a way. And if that's the case, that makes it interesting because with Golden State and all the issues they've had, and with Cleveland, all the issues they've had, that's nowhere near what the kind of finals between those two that we think we'd get. But it would be interesting to see, I think. So, again, not a lot to say. I think the NBA is going to have there's potential in a lot of these series, especially the early series. And to get a series like Cleveland and Toronto in the second round, which is what I think you'll get, is really good for the NBA. But in a way, it's not because you don't get in the Eastern Conference Finals like you should. But I think the NBA is going to have a hard time this postseason because they're missing so many players, or they have so many injury issues going on with a lot of top players. So that's going to make things harder for them from a rating standpoint, from a presentation standpoint. But I still think you'll get a lot of good competition. I think you might see some surprises, and I think. Do I still think the end result could end up being a Warriors and the Cavs in the finals? Yeah, that's what I'm predicting. But I don't think it's nearly anywhere close to a slam dunk like it would have been 2 months ago or 3 months ago. But yeah, so it should be interesting to see as it gets underway later this week. Mike, do you have any thoughts on the NBA playoffs here as we get them rolling?
I really don't have that many because I haven't followed it as much as I probably should have. But I will say that, Houston's been decent, but they're a regular season team. They're like Oklahoma City was. So they have a lot to prove. I think there are a lot of teams you can't discount. I think you can't discount a team like Toronto. You can't discount a team like Philadelphia. Even though I'm surprised Philly's still in it, but you got to trust the process, I think. I hear you got to trust the process. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I can't really disagree or argue with Golden State and oh Jesus.
Cleveland?
Even though Boston's been pretty good, you never know what you're going to get. So, yeah. That's what it is, playoffs.
I think I do have something that you would. I didn't plan on bringing this up, but I was just checking this out because I was happening to be on the page. So you know, Mike, we said over the years how we made it clear how we feel about Russell Westbrook, and last year he had a historic year, great for him. Congratulations to him, and then he's managed to coexist with Carmelo Anthony and Paul George somehow, right? Yeah. But you know how there's always been criticism of him, essentially being a ball hog, and basically people feel like he pads his stats, right? He holds the ball, he does everything he can to get the best stats, right?
Yes.
So he apparently responded to this criticism. Okay, I have to. This is too good. I'm not going to read the whole article, but I have to read this quote to you because you might.
I'm looking forward to it. Yes.
Yes, as soon as I can pull this up. So of course he's averaging a triple-double again this year. So here's the article's on ESPN.com, obviously, but Thunder's Russell Westbrook is tired of hearing he pads his statistics. Okay. Okay, I guess I'll read parts of the article just for context. Needing 16 rebounds Wednesday night to become the first player to average a triple-double more than once, Russell Westbrook sounded off on skeptics and the stats padding narrative about his historic numbers. Here's the quote. A lot of people make jokes about whatever, stat padding or going to get rebounds. If people could get 12 rebounds every night, they would. If people could get 15 rebounds, they would. People that's talking or saying whatever they need to say, they should try doing it and see how hard it is. Since everybody wants to be talking, I'm tired of hearing the same old rebound this, stealing rebounds, all this blank, crap. I'll say that because it's a better word. Yeah. I take pride in what I do. I come out and play, and I get the ball faster than someone else gets to it. That's what it is. If you don't want it, I'm going to get it. Simple as that. Let's see what else is here. That's not the quote I'm looking for.
Sounds like a bunch of malarkey, but okay.
Okay. The game will tell you what you need, because I guess Camarante joked about how, he seems to be doing, like, he goes out of his way stealing rebounds from teammates, etc., whatever. Here's the quote I was looking for. The game will tell you what you need to do, Westbrook said. Getting loose rebounds, loose balls, getting on the break is something that's very, very beneficial to our team, and something that, in my opinion, you can't stop. Getting a rebound, pushing out, getting it up quick, because you can't scout for that, and it's something that's great for our team. You do what you need to do to win. Tonight, if scoring is what it is, then that's what it is. Rebounding, that's what it is. If it's passing, that's what it is. Defending, my job is to do everything. And that's what I do. I go out, do everything, and I do it on a night in, night out basis. Nobody else does do the same crap I do every night. Simple as that. End quote. There you go, Mike.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I don't know how to tell him this, or I don't know how to say this, but you need to do all those things to win games anyways.
Right.
And if you do most of those things, including scoring more than the other team, generally you win the game.
Yes.
And I don't know how to tell him this, and I don't know how to tell anybody this, really, I guess. That didn't answer the question or the criticism of him padding his stats. That was just him answering the question by saying, I got to do whatever I got to do to win the game today.
It's him trying to justify it.
It's like, yeah, okay, you're trying to justify it, but it's like they're asking you about you padding your stats and fighting teammates for rebounds.
Right.
They're not asking you what you need to do to win a basketball game. At this level, I'm pretty sure everybody knows what you got to do to win a basketball game. And pretty much any level, people already know what to do to win a basketball game. But hey, good on Russ. He told us. Russell Westbrook told he sure did. He got us with that one. That Russell Westbrook. Jesus Christ.
I saw this, I read it, and my whole thought process was, first of all, I remember a time when, people would point out that he was doing everything. This is before he averaged the triple doubles and whatever, but back when Durant was there, and they would say, well, he's trying to do everything. And he's like, no, I don't need to do everything. The team has to come. It's a team thing, right? That's what he would try to say. He tried to push that narrative so that to fight against the negativity, right? Now that's what I do. I do everything. Now you could say that's because he's Durant's gone, and even though Anthony and George there, it's his team. He signed the big multi-year contract. He's been there the longest, right? You could say that's why he's saying that.
Yep.
The thing is, you don't need to do everything. There's 400 guys on the court with you. So I know these guys he's saying that these guys are joking, like Carmelo's saying he's joking that, but I do think there's a point here where he is stealing rebounds and he's stealing stats from these guys because he wants it all for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing about Russ. Last year, again, it's a historic thing what he's doing every year in and year out. He did it last year and he's doing it again this year, right? It's cool. We're gonna have a little guest here. Come on, because apparently we can't here. So she's gonna represent Russell Westbrook. If she starts crying, she'll be a very accurate representation of Russell Westbrook.
Sure.
Yes, I think that's a good prop. So okay, so here's the thing. All right, there's 4 other guys on the court. All right, he's stealing stats from these guys. They don't all let these guys do what they need to do. Like, you can't. I think he feels, again, In his mind, I don't think he ever thinks they're going to win a championship, no matter who they get. I think for him, it's, well, let me forge a legacy another way. I have nobody can tell me not to do these things. Nobody can stop me from stat padding. Nobody can stop me from doing all this, right? So what does he do? He goes ahead and keeps doing it because guess what? Nobody's going to stand up to him and tell him he can't. He signed this big multi-year contract. They're not going to turn away from that. His ownership's not going to put pressure on him and say, you can't do that. GM's not going to get in his face about it. The time for that would have been when Durant was still there. Remember, we always said Durant was the one that should have gotten in his face about it. He probably did. That's why they don't like each other.
Yep.
But at the same time, now you're never, ever, ever going to be able to say nothing about him because he's the guy that stayed when Durant left. He's the guy that signed a multi-year deal when he could have went anywhere else and made more money and did, and you know, he didn't leave. He's the loyal guy. He's the loyal Thunder. You know, that's what he is. So they're never, and of course, she don't like. Now she's acting like Russell Westbrook. Yes. So yeah. So he's doing these things because I think he thinks that's the only way he can forge a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other way for it. He doesn't think he's going to ever win a championship. Yeah, he's got Carmelo there. Yeah, he's got Paul George there. But I don't think he sees it. There's just too many other teams. The Thunder are always at that 5-6 level now. He doesn't see it. So, okay, what do I do? Let's just average a triple-double, you know, be the next Oscar Robertson. And, you know, thank you for being a prop, Harper. Thank you for being a prop. That was a nice cover, I know. But no, let's just be the next Oscar, this generation's version of Oscar Robertson, which he really isn't, but, you know, stat-wise, you can compare him to that. And, you know, that's how I'm going to do it. That's how I'm going to forge my legacy. That's how I'm going to be remembered and, you know, forge my own path. So it's just absurd. And, you know, again, I know other players saying, oh, you know, we're just joking around. He's not stealing our rebounds. He's not stealing our assists and that. You know damn well that's how they feel. You know that's how they feel. That's how Durant felt. Why do you think Durant left? I don't think Durant ever would have left Oklahoma City if Russ did. He had himself so entrenched in Oklahoma City that there's no way, if he felt they could coexist or if Russ was leaving, there's no way Kevin Durant was going to lead the Oklahoma City Thunder. No way. But he did. He left because Russell Westbrook, he knew they couldn't coexist, and he didn't feel like they could win like that. It's just absurd. Like, this is such nonsense. This whole, and you can find this, again, article on ESPN.com. Just look under the Oklahoma City Thunder, you'll find it. But it's just, it is completely absurd, this whole thing. Because he is padding stats. Even padding stats as he got into the league. It's nothing new. He just does it more demonstratively now because nobody can tell him what to do. Nobody can get in his face. Nobody's going to stop him. He doesn't have... Really, I know Carmelo's done very well, and, you know, he caught the bench. I know Carmelo's done very well. I know Paul George has done very well. But none of those guys are going to get into his face. As far as they're concerned, oh, Russ was here before us. We can't say nothing. This is Russ's team. He's the guy. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Nobody's going to stop him. So get used to this, because this is what you see is what you get. And if it hasn't clicked by now, it ain't going to click. He's not going to change the way he plays the game. He has no reason to. Nobody's getting on him about it and saying, you know what, we're losing games because you're doing these things. Nobody's going to get on him about it. If by some miracle eventually somebody does, then things might change. But again, I don't even know how effective that would be. He might pitch a fit and try to force a trade if that happened. I just got a kick out of it. Given how we've talked about Russell Westbrook, I thought you get a kick out of it. So, and you seem to. So I guess it was worth it. And it gave my daughter an appearance, so that was cool. Somehow I'm going to get a lot of mail about that, and people are like, "You call Russell Westbrook a crybaby." Well, this whole article was kind of him whining about people saying he pads stats, does pad stats. I mean, again, that's our opinion, but that's from if you watch games like I do, like Mike does, whatever, you see what he does. No, it's his it's his prerogative. He can fight against it and say that's not how I view it. That's how we view it, and a lot of people view it that way. So he can disagree with us, but that's how a lot of people view it. So, all right, let's get out of the NBA stuff. We're done with sports again. We'll do MLB preview next week. We now move on to the final part of the show, which is wrestling. We have a lot to talk about there, as we had Wrestlemania on Sunday. We had NXT on Saturday, the Hall of Fame on Friday, Raw and SmackDown this past Monday and Tuesday. So a lot to talk about here. We're going to try to, I won't say lump it together for time reasons, but that's probably the best way to do it. I'm going to be quick because I know Mike could probably say more than I'm going to, because I think he has more thoughts than I do on it. First of all, I'm going to do the Hall of Fame and the NXT thing real quick, because there's not much I have to say about that. First of all, Hall of Fame ran way too long. I know there's some speeches that were good, like Goldberg's and everything, but you know what? That was way too long, too many inductees. They can't do anything about the speeches, but they got to figure out a way to do this where it's not that long. I mean, there was nobody left by the end of the ceremony. That's not fair to the guys at the end. They got to figure something out with that. NXT on Saturday, I didn't watch it, but I know I read what happened. I heard things. I heard it was a tremendous event. Looked like a lot of the matches were terrific. And ending on the match that they did was probably the right call and a great moment there. So you give a lot of credit. Obviously, some of the results on Saturday resulted in some call-ups on Monday and Tuesday. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. WrestleMania on Sunday. I thought the kickoff stuff worked very well. I thought they picked the right matches for the kickoff, and it worked okay. The results weren't too bad there. I was happy that they used Matt Hardy the way they did and had him win the Andre the Giant, and using Bray Wyatt in that way was good too. The Cruiserweight Championship match on that kickoff show was very, very good. WrestleMania. This is a very derisive WrestleMania. Kind of, there's people that, some people love the entire thing. Some people liked half of it. Some people hated the entire thing. So it's a very derisive for the most part. I think a lot of people feel like it was better than 32 and 33. I thought it started off great with the Intercontinental title match, but I think it was not the best match of the night. One of them. The Charlotte Asuka match was good. The result you could question, but I think there's reasons why that happened. And it made for a moment, and it was, we'll see where they go from here. Obviously, SmackDown gave us a little bit of an idea about that. I thought the SmackDown tag match was okay. It was just filler. Basically, the U.S. title match was okay. Just filler. I don't know why they felt the need to go with Jinder, so we can get Randy Orton and Jinder again, because that feud was so great last year. But they did. That's something that puzzles me to no end. That match kind of was, again, weird. The Daniel Bryan, Shane, Kevin Owens, Zayn match I thought was very good, well played. The Triple H, Stephanie, Ronda, Kurt Angle match I thought was probably the best of the night. As far as entertainment quality, I thought it was really good. I thought Ronda really impressed. I'm shocked she was as good as she was. They all played their roles well, so you give them credit for that. I thought the Nia Jax Alexa match was probably the most underrated match on the card. I thought they played again, storytelling wise, I thought it was very good. It's a shame it was in the spot it was, 'cause I think it would have gotten more recognition if it was early in the night. Let's see. What am I forgetting? Cena Undertaker. Look, I know people are going to crap all over that, and that segment was cool. I'd seen her play this part well. The whole thing with Cena was funny. They had a reason for doing it. It was storyline. It was to build Undertaker back up again. I have no issues with it. I thought it was fine. It was a cool moment. Let's see. The Braun Strowman thing was a little weird. Look, I see what they were going for there, and it ended up working out. Look, and Braun didn't need a partner for that match, so it is what it is. It was all right. AJ Nakamura, I felt the match was okay. I was rather disappointed and underwhelmed in it. And I saw a lot of people say it's too bad the heel turn didn't happen before Mania because I think it would have been a better match if it was. I feel like they didn't have much of a story to tell. Like there was nothing to work with for them. And I feel like they wanted to tell a story there. Instead, they had to. As it was face versus face. I felt like they struggled to kind of get something out of it. I mean, going forward, they probably won't have too much of a problem now because Nakamura turned heel, which was an awesome moment. I think that match was great. So we'll see where they go from there. But that was a cool moment. And then we have the main event, which we know went off the rails, much like last year, except maybe worse. Brock did his, went nuts and busted Roman open. There was apparently an altercation after Mania where Brock got into it with Vince. Even I guess Shane McMahon wanted to fight Brock and even got between them. Brock threw the Universal title at Vince. A lot of things are going on about that. But Roman was busted open, and the shocker, Brock Lesnar beat Roman Reigns, which shocked everybody. Apparently, that was something that was back and forth. They decided on it. Some people think it was decided on in the match. Who knows? A lot of things going on, but still a surprise, and probably one of the biggest WrestleMania surprises that you've seen. So that was your WrestleMania. That was your WrestleMania. So before we get to Raw and SmackDown and the fallout from WrestleMania, Mike, I want to get your thoughts on NXT Hall of Fame WrestleMania. What you thought?
Well, I don't have a ton of thoughts on NXT or the Hall of Fame because I didn't see him yet. So,
Right.
Hey, Brian, guess what we're going to do in the next few weeks?
Yes.
So, take the motherfucking hint. Anyways, I'm too tired. I'm tired tonight. Anyways, WrestleMania. So I said off the air, and I'm gonna kind of go kind of quick because it's 11:24, and we don't want to belabor the point here. But this was a can't miss card. This was a can't miss card. You had dream matches, you had returns, you had the biggest money matches in certain divisions, and blah 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 blah. Okay, so pre-show, Matt Hardy wins the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Bray Wyatt interferes and helps. That's fine. It was a good use of Matt. It was kind of rewarding him and Bray for that Ultimate Deletion stuff, and they're looking. Excuse me, and they're probably going to be winning the tag team titles, or at least competing for them. Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali had probably one of the 3 or 4 best matches of the night. They had an amazing match. It was a bit of emotional. I'm disappointed Mustafa Ali didn't win, but I thought Cedric Alexander was probably going to win the title. They probably had him booked to win the title since Enzo won it. So just following through, it's just another way for Cedric to get there. But I think Mustafa Ali is one of the next guys to get it. I haven't seen 205 Live recently, or haven't read the results, so thanks. Naomi won by last eliminating Bayley. I thought Bayley was going to win because they play out the whole Sasha thing. She won the not so fabulous Moolah, her name redacted, WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal Trophy, or the Ovary Trophy, as it looked like. The Fallopian Tube Trophy. Naomi won. I have a theory that had a lot to do with Moolah's treatment of one sweet Georgia Brown and that coming to light again. So, hint, hint. If you don't know that story, you got Google. Look it up. Rollins beating The Miz and that match was probably the best match of the night. Probably the best match of the night was Rollins and Miz beating Miz and Balor. They worked well together. It was high pace, high impact. Everybody worked hard. The entrances were cool, especially. Look, Finn Balor got a lot of good press and a lot of good feeling for his inclusivity entrance. And Rollins' Night King entrance was pretty sweet, and Miz's entrance was just weird, but it was fine. It was very Miz. It's a good match. So I started off on a good pace. Charlotte beat Asuka, and after what happened on SmackDown, I could say, yeah, this result still sucks. You could say, oh, well, the streak was boring. No. You've been building up the streak. This was the moment for Asuka. Now, unfortunately, the chase has to continue. This was the moment you make Asuka, and you decided, oh, we're not going to make Asuka anymore. And you give it to the one female on the roster who literally didn't need the streak. So I've seen a lot of arguments for it. I've seen a lot of arguments against it. And yes, I'm a huge Asuka fan. I've been now. So I'm going to say this with full bias. I think this result was dumb as shit. They could have gone another 10 minutes and had the correct outcome, and nothing of value would have been lost from this card. So the fact that Asuka lost this match was a terrible result. She wasn't on any of the programs last night, so we don't know where Asuka's doing after this. So she's going to stay on SmackDown. Spoilers. It's just probably going to happen. But I'm sorry, Asuka should be your SmackDown Women's Champion now. And the fact that she's not is an embarrassment. And, well, here we go. Because apparently there's rumors Charlotte's going to move to Raw now, so Asuka can't get that victory back. I don't know. That should be your SummerSlam match at this point. But hey, who knows? What do I know? I'm only a fan. Hey, Jinder was the U.S. champion. He won the Fatal 4-Way match, pinning fucking Rusev. Talk about blind, deaf, and dumb booking right there. I'm a fan. I know what I like. I know Rusev is over his shit. Rusev Day merch and Rusev Day chants were all over the place. So what do you do? Let's put the thing on Jinder Mahal. And let's transition right into Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton. I'm banging my head into the microphone. Because, look, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn is a feud we like seeing. Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton is a feud nobody wanted to see again. So thanks, guys. Thanks, SmackDown booking team. Now we can just totally discount the U.S. title shit, but at least it's not cluttering up the WWE titles picture. But unfortunately, Jinder's great. He works hard. He looks great. But good Lord, he doesn't need the U.S. title. Angle and Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon was better than it had any business being. Ronda Rousey looked great. Kurt Angle looked like he can move, and god damn it, Triple H is fantastic. And Stephanie McMahon played a role well, but god damn it, Triple H just, man, you could tell he's still really good. You can tell. So we're Bludgeon Brothers. The moment the Bludgeon Brothers were added to that SmackDown tag title match, or the moment everybody knew, spoilers, they did. There wasn't much to say. Yes, you could have had a masterpiece in tag team in the New Day, but look, Harper and Rowan should have had the tag titles literally 5 years ago. Maybe 4, maybe 3, but they should have had at least a tag team title reign by now. This was so much overdue. It had to happen. Harper and Rowan were the right choice here. Taker beating Cena, 3 minutes, sure. You built up the Undertaker, got Cena on the card. It was a moment. Whatever. Undertaker's still viable. Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon beating Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I thought this, judging by the rest of the card, this probably should have main evented. Shane McMahon got his ass kicked for 10 minutes. Daniel Bryan comes in, House of Fire, submit Sami Zayn. Owens and Zayn worked their roles to they worked a master class in heel heat right now. Owens and Zayn were phenomenal in this match. It was Daniel Bryan looks like he didn't miss a step, and Shane McMahon was there. So it was a fantastic match. It was a great story match, and everybody performed their roles admirably. Daniel Bryan goes over. Owens and Zayn are going to be gone for a little bit, but you know what? Who knows? Nia Jax beating Alexa Bliss in 10 minutes for the Raw Women's title was you were right. That was an underrated match on the card. It was fantastic. but it happened to be between the biggest SmackDown story match and the one match everybody's been waiting for forever. So it was just bad placement. But it was a very good story match. Nia Jax going over was the best possible result. It was the only result, really. Good match. Nia, it wasn't as good as Nia's matches with Asuka, but Alexa Bliss isn't as good as Asuka. That's just how it is. AJ Styles versus Nakamura. Oh, it felt like they never got out of second gear. And I know I've seen it all over. It's like, oh, this was brilliant New Japan level storytelling where Nakamura, it kind of fails in his first attempt and he uses it to turn heel, and then the matches down the road are going to be like phenomenal. Well, that might work in New Japan where the tournaments in the G1 mean jack and shit. Hey, when was the last? Hey, Brian, do you know when the last time the winner of the New Japan Cup won the title they challenged for? Neither do I. Nobody fucking does because they never do. They never fucking do. I think the last time was actually Shinsuke Nakamura. He won the New Japan Cup to challenge Hiroshi Tanahashi for the IC title, and that was like 10 years ago. Since then, the New Japan Cup means jack and shit. Hey, remember, do you know the last time the winner of New Japan's big tournament, the G1, won the fucking title at Wrestle Kingdom? Neither do I. It hasn't happened in a while. Hasn't fucking happened in a while. Hey, that last year New Japan had Tetsuya Naito. Can't miss. Hottest thing in their company, right? Wins the G1. Pretty sure, and Brian, this is the thing. Pretty sure Naito was supposed to win the G1, but do you know what they said at the last moment? We're going to take the hottest thing we're going to job him out to Kazuchika Okada because he's chasing a pointless record that he doesn't need right now. Surprise! We're doing it for storytelling, yay! So it doesn't. So these big event and tournament events don't mean shit in New Japan, but they sure as shit mean something in WWE. Shinsuke Nakamura won the Royal Rumble. It was the first time Asian won the goddamn men's Royal Rumble. This is the same thing for Asuka. It's the first time anybody's won the female Royal Rumble. If you were going to turn him heel, you should have did it at Fastlane. Right. If you're going to turn him heel, you should have fucking did it at Fastlane. And you should have had Nakamura kind of have this edge going into this match. And you should have had Nakamura win the title here because New Japan storytelling doesn't work in WWE. Or it doesn't work really well in WWE. So AJ Styles going over Nakamura here was admittedly really stupid, and the match admittedly wasn't great, and admittedly it probably wasn't AJ Styles' fault. I love Nakamura. I think Nakamura is going to win the title at the next pay-per-view because AJ Styles is going to Raw more than likely. Making this result absolutely fucking pointless. So absolutely fucking pointless. That's where we are with AJ Styles right now and Nakamura. But oh, hey, it got 20 minutes. That's great. Anyways, do you know what? Braun Strowman and Nicholas, eh? Speaking of something to bring the crowd up, Braun Strowman and Nicholas beating Sheamus and Cesaro, who are like my favorite tag team. But you know what? It was a moment. Strowman didn't need it. It was good. Sheamus and Cesaro got an entrance. Braun Strowman was amazing. He broke shit, got a kid from the crowd. He kidnapped a kid from the crowd, won the tag team titles. So you know what? That was a moment. And then Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns was a fucking clusterfuck. Roman was probably supposed to win until midway through that match.
Hmm.
And then Brock somewhere's like, I'm not losing this match. And Roman's like, motherfucker. It took 7 F5s and it took about a dozen suplexes and it took Roman Reigns getting busted open, otherwise known as the Randy Orton protocol. Because Brock busted open Randy Orton and ended that match in like 3 seconds. And so Brock Lesnar retains the title. And when's he going to lose it? I don't fucking know when he's going to lose it. There are rumors he's going to lose it the greatest Royal Rumble to Roman Reigns, making the result of this match absolutely fucking pointless, using WrestleMania to build up a show in Saudi Arabia where the women are not even allowed to be at. How dumb. It's just I don't even know. But hey, there are other rumors that Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley are going to fight over the Universal title at SummerSlam.
Well,
yeah, no, fuck that.
there's a lot of stuff out there about Brock. Nobody knows how long he signed. There's talk it might be a short-term deal. It depends on his UFC fight. He might, he might just work this next show, the greatest Royal Rumble, and then he'll be gone until he fights in UFC, and then he'll come back. There's a lot of things we don't really know. I do think the possibility exists that he will drop the title in Saudi Arabia because it's a much more favorable crowd for Roman, and he doesn't have to get pinned. Well, can't Roman just escape the cage?
Yeah, Roman can literally just walk out the door, climb over.
And I think that protects Brock Lesnar, so I could see them pulling it there because it's a cheap win, and it gets the title off of him.
Yeah, it would be the ideal area. And you know what? It'd be fine for the title to be on Raw again. Unfortunately, it's in the hands of Roman Reigns. But you know what? Hey, maybe at Backlash, it could be in the hands of Samoa Joe.
Which they already set up on Monday as part of the fallout. We saw Samoa Joe return, and we set up the feud that we all thought was coming for the last couple months. Yeah. So you have that.
So,
go ahead.
Final thoughts on WrestleMania. There was some good, there was a lot of bad, and it was kind of mediocre overall. Which is disappointing because that card should have been absolutely top tier. And all you had to do was make it top tier, was pretty much have Asuka win and have Shinsuke Nakamura win and kind of main event with literally anything else other than Brock versus Roman. Literally any other match. And I'm telling you, if you change those 3 things, WrestleMania is literally the best show they could run all year. And if I'm wrong, I don't care because I know I'm not. But anyways, let's talk about the Raw. Let's talk about the SmackDown. Hey, did you see all of the SmackDown debuts? All of them?
Yeah.
They were in the same segment, but man, weren't they iconic?
And they made an impact. So yeah. Well, let me just say this. Obviously, they're going to do the Superstar Shakeup next week, and we'll talk about that next week. This wasn't the biggest Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania. We've had bigger where there's been big things. I felt like SmackDown had more going for it than Raw, as far as movement goes. But Raw had some good things. Brock will link. I won't call it a good thing, but movement. Brock will relinquish the titles because Nicholas is in 4th grade and couldn't miss school. We set up the next phase of the tag team division where they're going to go with it. They didn't end on a swerve like they normally do. And I think the plan was to end on Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe when Roman Reigns was supposed to win the title. I think that was what it was. But since that didn't happen, they put that middle part of the show. We set that up for Backlash. They debuted Authors of Pain, and for some reason they're splitting them up from Paul Emmering, which is pretty much a Vince move because Vince hates managers.
Yes. Also, it's dumb.
It is dumb. Completely dumb. You had the women's, they debuted Ember Moon, which is great. That was a nice real moment. Her working with Nia. Who else? You had Samoa Joe. Oh, Bobby Lashley came back, and we all knew that was coming. Not in a way I thought. I thought I'd make a bigger impact, but whatever. They announced Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at the greatest Royal Rumble. We also know Jericho's going to be. We know now Undertaker is going to be facing Rusev in a casket match at that event. So. Now they can bury Rusev literally, apparently. Literally. Yeah. So you got that. So, they set that up. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot on Raw Monday. I mean, it was a good show. It was an okay show. Just wasn't a whole lot going on. SmackDown, right out of the gate, Paige retired on Monday, and then Paige ends up becoming the SmackDown GM on Tuesday, which I didn't even think about. But hey, I guess the SmackDown GM role is now for people that have to be forced to retire and hope that they can somehow come back. But she's a good choice. She's good on the mic. She'll do well. So I don't mind that. I think that was great. The main event was good with Daniel Bryan and Nakamura, AJ, and then Nakamura interfering in that. Clearly, they're setting something up there. Although, Mike, I'm just going to tell you this right now. There's a Extreme Rules ad. I know cards subject to change because we saw that with Fast. Remember, we had originally a different match and they got changed.
Yep.
But there is promotion for Extreme Rules saying a triple threat featuring Nakamura, AJ Styles, and Baron Corbin for the WWE Championship. So let's hope that one's not true.
Card subject to change. How many triple threat matches has Baron Corbin got to wrestle?
Yeah, right. I guess the biggest part of the show was the debut of Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, who attacked Charlotte, and we finally got the cash in.
We did. Yeah.
And I guess we just had to get that over with. And that's an example. Again, cars have to change. But what I tell you the week before WrestleMania, that they were advertising Carmella versus Charlotte. And there it is. Now, the talk is that Asuka's going to SmackDown. So my guess is that Charlotte's going to go to Raw. Charlotte's going to face Carmella. They're going to burn that rematch off at Backlash. Charlotte's going to go to Raw. Asuka comes over, dominates the SmackDown division, takes the title off of Carmella, and away we go.
Yeah, but unfortunately, what match are you building to next year at WrestleMania then?
Ronda versus Charlotte is supposed to be the main event.
Ronda versus Charlotte.
Yep.
But if your storytelling is key, then the match should be Asuka versus Charlotte.
Well, my feeling is that that's going to be something they go back to down way down the road. Way down the road. I think.
Unfortunately, you might be right.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. That's something that they should resolve now while the iron's hot, but they won't. You can see the writings on the wall. They're going to flip Charlotte. The fact they ran that cash in last night was pretty much a given to me. But we'll see. Now, that was the only two debuts. I'm thinking that SmackDown's going to get more people in next week's shakeup. Because if you think about now before people go, well, SmackDown's getting screwed, SmackDown also got Daniel Bryan. So, so that's a pretty big thing. And they're going to get Asuka too. So, I think SmackDown ended up getting a little bit more out of the shakeup than Raw because Raw has all these people that they got this week. We'll see. But I thought SmackDown had, and the Owen Zayn stuff, I didn't talk about from Raw, but, they had that match. There was no contest. I think somebody said something that I think would be funny. How maybe next week on Raw, Owens and Zayn both get contracts and they get moved back over to SmackDown in the shakeup. Wouldn't that be hysterical?
It would be funny.
But I don't know what they're planning with Owens and Zayn. I don't know if they're going to split them up. I don't know if they're just going to stay on Raw. I'm thinking they're going to stay on Raw. It's interesting to me because you'd have to think that Daniel Bryan's staying put on SmackDown. You'd have to think that. You'd have to think that. So the only person you could see moving here is AJ. But we'll see. I mean, there's a lot. It's a very curious time to be having this shakeup. If you think about it, because a lot of things are still to be now, again, they can resolve these things at Backlash, and then they did that a couple years ago after the draft. They resolved some things and they moved on. But a lot of things have to be resolved. So Raw and SmackDown both had a lot going on, lots of setup, and I thought SmackDown did a very good job at the moment with the cash in. They had the main event. So I thought SmackDown and Raw were both good, but I think SmackDown had had a little bit more going on, and and something to keep an eye on going forward here. Obviously, Brock Lesnar and his contract, what's going to go on there, the greatest Royal Rumble, Jericho's going to be back, Undertaker, all that stuff. But UFC got an expanded TV deal with NBC and ESPN, which has cleared the way for Fox to throw all its money at WWE. So we'll see how that develops in the coming weeks as far as the TV deal goes, if USA will lose WWE or not. So keep an eye on that story here. So Mike, Raw, SmackDown, your thoughts?
The best match on Raw was Owens and Zayn, and it was the best match on Raw by a country mile. Yeah, there was debuts and they happened. It wasn't outstanding, but it really didn't hold my interest. Carmella cashes in on Charlotte. It kind of, yeah, Charlotte got beat down, but it was like the day after Asuka, or 2 days after Asuka. It was like, ugh, come on. Nothing. The problem with that is I think that it's clear that nothing's getting resolved with the Asuka thing, and that's just upsetting. I will say that Nakamura had the segment of the shows where Renee Young comes to ask him a question. He's like, where he said, "Oh, I'm very sorry for attacking AJ Styles. My emotion got the better of me," and she's like, "Shinsuke, you're obviously being a little facetious. You're obviously being a little sarcastic." It's like, no, really, what made you do it? And he just stops and smirks, and then leans over and says, "Sorry, no speak English."
Yep.
And I'm like, God. And I'm like, that is the best. That was fantastic. If the one silver lining with Nakamura losing is heel Nakamura is going to be great. But yeah, I mean, AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan was a good match. Obviously, interference by Nak. That made sense. Nakamura needs to win the title at the next pay per view.
Yeah.
Don't know how to say it. Nakamura has to win the title at the next pay per view. I feel like Carmel is going to get a very short reign.
Probably.
Very short reign. So, I don't know. It's hard to say. Hard to say what they're doing here, but Raw happened. SmackDown was probably slightly better, but eh?
Yeah.
The best way to describe it.
So, yeah. So a long week for the WWE comes to an end, and now they got a couple other more long weeks here with the shakeup and the Saudi Arabia thing and Europe tour. So they won't really get a break until like the middle part of May, which is just why these guys are always exhausted this time of year. So hopefully they all make it through without injury or anything like that. Yeah, so there was a lot of wrestling to get through, and we did. So that now we've kind of gotten to that lull. WrestleMania season's over, college basketball's over. Baseball season's begun, NBA players are beginning. So now we're kind of in that lull until what? The fall when football starts. So it's amazing how quickly things calm down. But all right, so we got through everything. We did everything. We got it in before midnight, so that's good. As always, the show might be over. It does not mean you have to stop interacting, contributing to the show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your feedback, questions, and comments about the show, scheduling, topic ideas, breaking news items related to sports, entertainment, or wrestling you want us to cover. Reactions, comments, opinions on things we talked about. Any things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. And, of course, use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show, whether it's something directly to us or just tweeting about our show. And, of course, you can find us on Facebook. Just search In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and make sure that you like our page once you are on it. Again, social media, Facebook and Twitter. Follow us to get the latest information about the show, especially when scheduling delays, postponements, etc. happen, like tonight. So make sure that you follow us on social media, on Facebook, search for In the Spotlight 411, and on Twitter at IT Spotlight 411. So make sure that you follow us so you can keep up with latest information and interact with all that good stuff. 2 ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. You can either stream us anytime on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. And when you're taking our show pages on both sites, you'll have access to every episode we've ever produced for Google Plus and YouTube. That's every episode from mid-October 2015 all the way up to tonight's current episodes. Episodes available for you to stream anytime you want. Just head over to Google Plus and YouTube and search for In the Spotlight 411. If streaming is not your thing, maybe there's older episodes you're interested in, or prefer to listen to us on the go, listen to us just prefer to listen to us in general. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. To search for In the Spotlight 411 on both those sites. And when you do, you'll be taking their show pages on both sites. You'll have access to every episode we've ever produced in nearly 8 years been doing the show. So all of our original Blog Talk Radio episodes from October 2010, January 2011, all of our Talk Show episodes from January 2011 all the way up to the mid-October 2015. And again, all of our Google Plus and YouTube episodes from mid-October of 2015 all the way up to tonight's current episodes. All those episodes transfer into audio format for your convenience. Every episode we've ever done in audio format for your convenience. You can listen to them anytime you want. In order from the most recent, that being tonight's episode, all the way to the oldest, way back in October 2010, all available for you to listen to anytime. Maybe a long-time fan wants to look back at an old episode, or a new fan wants to look at an episode like that for the first time, or just keep up with current episodes. If any of that applies to you, or you just like listen to us on the go, listen to us in general, if any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search In the Spotlight 401. Again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes are your ways to keep up with the show and look back at past episodes. To search for In the Spotlight 401. Again, to search for In the Spotlight 401 on all those sites to do all that and more. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
All right. It's 11:53. I'm going to sleep, but I will say this. Because I told you yesterday, but I'll say it on the air anyway. Happy belated birthday, YA Gardner. It's time for bed.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And thank myself and our great show, parents, my back, and thank all of you for continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be watching or listening to this later, thank you to you as well. Again, this is a special Wednesday show. We did this because I had my birthday yesterday, and I have to work my other job. I just didn't feel like doing the show tomorrow. I thought it'd be too much for the first day. So, for all those, Mike mentioned my birthday. I mentioned at the top of the show, but just in case, I didn't get any other mail about sound. People said I sounded fine, but who knows? But if there was a sound issue, in case you didn't hear me, to those that did send birthday comments and stuff, and thank you to you. That was wonderful of you to do that. I know you know in the last couple of years we haven't really done a birthday kind of thing for me on the show, and that's because I've taken my birthday off. You know, we did it the first few years, and I just kind of ran out of ideas to do on my birthday, so that's why we don't do it anymore. But whatever. But to those that sent birthday messages in, thank you to you. It was a good day. Technically, I'm doing more celebrating Friday. Because yes, it's hard on weekdays, but you know, it was a good day. It was a good day. So thank you to everybody that sent their messages in. So that's it for tonight. Again, this was our only show of the week. We did it on Wednesday for the reason I mentioned, my birthday being yesterday. So we do not have another show until next, let's see, what day are we doing a show next week? Boom. Wow. Next Tuesday. Wow. Whew. So next Tuesday, which is the, let's see, today's the 11th, 12th, 13th, Friday 13th on Friday. Ooh, that's interesting. Didn't even realize that. 14, 15, Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, April the 17th, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That is our next show. So it's coming Tuesday, April the 17th, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time is our next show. We'll do our MLB season preview. We'll talk other sports, including NBA, what happens in the first couple of days of NBA playoffs. Box office beat, TV highlights, all that good stuff, wrestling, all that stuff on Tuesday. That's this Tuesday, April the 17th, 9 o'clock from time. That is our next show. Until then, have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, a great weekend, a great start to your week next week. We'll see you back here again this coming Tuesday, April the 17th at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time for our next show. Until then, have a good night, everybody.